My daughter was my whole life. To hear her voice again, I would give all I have.
How are you?
Hi there. Very well. How are you?
I'm great. Really, really happy to be talking to you. And first of all, congratulations on the movie because it really, really looks amazing. And well, the first thing I would like to know is which is the main difference of working in Hunting of Venice with the rest of the movies that you've already done with Kenneth?
Um, I think they're all different. They're really unique, and I think this was a particular uh, uh, change in path for us from the other Poirots. We wanted to make a story that was really stark, really bold, something more truthful to the human condition, I think, than we had in the past Poirot films. And both the Agatha Christie novel requires it, and the magnificent script by Mike Green required it, and then putting it all together, I think that this ensemble cast and the complexity of the story, this terrifying human condition story, required a very, very intimate, very direct approach to the storytelling.
Really interesting, this choice of novel, because it's one of the lesser known ones. It hasn't been adapted to a big screen before, so there was less pressure maybe than there was on the two previous in this franchise that were made with Kenneth Branagh. So I didn't feel a pressure, but you know, and it was also very much a reinterpretation of the book, you know, which was set in England, not in Venice, and so on. So again, I didn't have to reference the book maybe as much as I would normally when I interpret, you know, whether it's Madame Bovary or whatever it is that you try to pay more homage to the book, I suppose. So it was very much taking the atmosphere of the world and the characters and the mood that Agatha Christie was aiming for, and of course the famous twist at the end and who did it. I mean, what made this one very interesting, and I think what was so genius about rewriting it to a palazzo in Venice was that the house was potentially one of the suspects. So it rather than it being a background to the actors, which is the normal case for me when I design a set, it's to help increase the audience understanding of the characters. In this case, the house is a character of its own, you know. So that's a great opportunity as a designer, and as a result, we built the set, rather than shooting a location, which would have been too complicated for the storytelling. Obviously, there's a lot of very specific stuff with chandeliers crashing and so on. So did it all in the studio.
What is the difference of making music for an horror film?
Well, I think you always try to, when you're working on a film score, you just try to tap into you know, the emotional of the scene, you know, and I think, you know, we have in the horror genre, we have such incredible we have such a great history of use of sound and music and horror films, you know, and I think there's nothing that beats like a good jump scare, for example.
Yeah.
You know, and it's always like, you know, and those moments in particular, I think were quite fun to work on because, you know, it's like the class, you know, you just were diving into the classics, but what was also fun in this sense, because I was really looking at the music from such a historical point of view, you know, from what was happening in music history at the time. And one of the big you know, and the big sweeping movements of this time is, of course, the abandoning of melodies and old structures, and, you know, experimenting with new ways of playing and extended techniques and ways of making sounds out of instruments that you shouldn't really have been able to make, or you shouldn't be touching, you know, before. And so that was really, so you have this huge array of exciting sounds from this time that are being explored. So they really fit so well into the into the timeline of when the story is taking place, and fits so well into the horror genre.
Totally. The thing that I really like about this movie that there's something very common into the horror genre is the space. The house is like another character. It's really important to the story. As a cinematographer, how was it for you to work in this space that has such a presence into the movie?
Well, we had to break it down into three pieces. There's the real Venice and the real Palazzo. So we filmed outside the real Palazzo in Venice and all the streets and canals that led to it. Once we got inside, though, it's a modern Palazzo broken up into different rooms. So we had to recreate what it would have been like in 1940s post World War II, and so we constructed that as a stage, but created real backings and other buildings in our stage, so that you looked out the windows, you could actually see something that realistically gave you the impression of being at that location.
All of those things that we normally do on stages, he was really adamant that they shouldn't be there, that when you stood in the middle of that space as an actor, that you felt like you were locked in a house in Venice. And you were, when Poirot closes the gates and locks them and locks the actors in, there's no way off the set. There's fire escapes, but they are locked in a palazzo, and there's rain beating on the windows. There's no green screen, no crew standing, making this whole thing feel pretend. It's a real house, So that was great to do as a designer, because it's kind of rare for me to get to create such a complete world.
No, and it really builds the moods, and I think it is amazing. So thank you so much, P, for talking to me, and congratulations once again for the movie.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice speaking to you.
Have a nice day.
We cannot hide from our ghosts. Whether they are real or not.